Shalom. All praises to the Most High. All praises to His holy name. Well, I must say, starting now, just back in the days of Adam until now, the Most High really gave the prophet one important job. Although he does prophesy, he does foresee the things that is written in the past, and the Most High allow you to see that and to see what's happening now and in the future. But the most thing he told us what to do was to watch. So that's what I do, watch. And because I don't have a wall, I watch from the couch. That's why I watch what's being said in Israel. And not to be judgmental, but to judge according to righteousness, which is his word. And if I see something that pricks my spirit that anyone says, and because I am a watcher and a watchman on the wall in Israel, that's what I do. Sit on the couch or sit on the chair and watch what's been said in Israel. And Israel is basically prophesying from the internet. That's my job. That's one of the watchmen on the wall. So I'm watching. And because I watch certain brothers more than others, and what they say, if they say something that pricks my interest according to my spirit, and because I'm watching, I gotta go to be more noble than those in that's a Nika, is that correctly said? To search the word to see if those things be true, which they say. That's my job as a watchman, as a prophet. So as I'm watching and listening, I'm going forth to search the word and other documentation that support the word to see if those things be true, which is said. So what I'm going to present to you today, the Most High said, don't marry from the Nate. Let me read it to you. This is the book of Deuteronomy from the Book of Mormon. Deuteronomy chapter 7. The header says, Israel is to destroy the 7 nations of Canaan. Marriages with them are forbidden unless apostasy result. And what has resulted? Apostasy. Ever since King Solomon went in and married these women, apostasy been around. Even before then, but particularly then, which was not pleasing to the Most High. It says Israel has a mission as a holy and chosen people. This is the header in the Book of Mormon. Yahweh Shai shows mercy unto those who love him and keep his commandments. So he's saying, don't go and marry these women. He said he'll show you mercy if you keep his commandments. He promises to remove sickness from the children of Israel if they obey this commandment. All right. Let's continue. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. When the Lord your God shall bring you into the land wherever you go it to possess it, See, the Most High, the lands he sent you to, whether even during your punishments, he sent you there for the purpose of you eventually possessing it. And has cast out many nations before you. Why can he do that? He said, because the earth is mine and everything therein is mine. And I made the earth for Israel. When the Lord your God shall bring you into the land, whether you go it to possess it, and has cast out many nations before you, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jezebites, 7 nations greater and mightier than you. So, as a watcher and a watchman on the wall, in my particular case, on the chair, I'm going to move to in the scriptures. And let's see what did the Most High say as he sent Joshua, the Savior. Not Yeshua, not Joshua, the Messiah, but in his day he was a Savior named Joshua, who took over from Moses. Number 13:1 on down. And the law spake unto Moses, saying, send you men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall you send a man, every one a ruler among them. And Moses, by the commandments of the law, sent them from the wilderness of Paran. All those men were heads of the children of Israel. What are the heads of Israel doing now? The same things. But we're bringing in the law sheet. And these were their names: of the tribe of Reuben, Shammua, the son of Zakur; of the tribe of Simeon, Shaphat, the son of Hori; of the tribe of Judah, Caleb, the son of Jephunneh; of the tribe of Issachar, Igal, the son of Joseph; of the tribe of Ephraim, O'Shea, the son of Nun; of the tribe of Benjamin, Palti, the son of Raphu. See, I was going to wait until tomorrow to do this, but the Most High put it on my heart, saying, no, do this now. Of the tribe of Benjamin, Palti, the son of Raphu; of the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel, the son of Sodi; the tribe of Joseph, namely of the tribe of Manasseh, Gadi, the son of Susi; the tribe of Dan, Amiel, the son of Gamali; the tribe of Asher, Sethur, the son of Michael; of the tribe of Naphtali, Nabi, the son of, I knew somebody named Nabi. Nabi, the son of, well, I know somebody named Nabi. Haven't seen him in a long time. Nabi, the son of Fosi. Of the tribe of Gad, Yeel, the son of Machi. These are the names of the men which Moses sent to spy out the land. That's what watchers do. And report back to the Most High. And Moses called O'Shea, the son of Nun, Joshua, or Yeshua. And Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan. and said to them, get you up this way southward, and go up unto the mountain, and see the land, what it is, and the people that dwelleth therein, whether they be strong or weak, few or many, and what the land is that they dwell in, whether it be good or bad, and what cities they be that they dwell in, whether in tents or in strongholds, and what the land is, whether it be fat or lean, whether there be wood therein or not. And be you of good courage, and bring of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first strike grapes. So they went up and searched the land from the wilderness of Zin unto Rehob, as men come to Hamath. And they ascended by the south and came unto Hebron, where Ahiman, Shishai, and Talmah, the children of Anak, were. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. And they came into the brook of Ixchol, and cut down from thence a branch, which with one cluster of grapes, and they bare it between two upon a staff. And they brought of the pomegranates and of the figs. The place was called the brook of Eshcol, Isha, because the cluster of grapes with the children of Israel cut down from thence. And they returned searching of the land after 40 days. And they went and came to Moses and to Aaron, and to all of the congregation of the children of Israel unto the wilderness of Paran, through Kadesh, and brought back word unto them and unto all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him and said, we came unto the land whither you sent us, and surely it flowed with milk and honey. What land flows with milk and honey? And this is the fruit of it. They always talking about the Moors, always talking about the Canaan land, which is these Americans that they claim for themselves, talking about it was theirs, but the Most High says it's not. The reason I bring up the Moors, they're going to talk about the Moors and some very enlightening that I found as I was doing my research, as watching. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea, by the coast of Jordan. And Caleb steeled the people before Moses, and said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. But the men that went up with him said, we be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof. And all the people that we saw in it are men of great stature. And there we saw giants, the sons of Anak, which came of the giants. And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. When we saw them in our own sight, we said we were but grasshoppers to them, and then when they saw us as grasshoppers. Remember that. Then I was doing a little research because I was trying to figure out exactly who are these people that the Most High is talking about. Now, do your own research outside of this, but I just found this to be very interesting. It says the white race of ancient Palestine. Somebody else said they left, quote unquote, black and came back white. Osborne, an accurate observer in such matters, stated some years ago that the Amorites were depicted by the Egyptian artists with the eyes blue and the eyebrows and beard red. The statement is important since exposure of the ravages of man are fast destroying the colors which once discovered the great monuments of Thebes. When the winter before the last, Mr. Flinders Petrie undertook to take photographs and cast of the various races represented. So you can't get around races, man. That's who people are. It's about finding the truth about the matter. And you don't get to the truth about the matter talking about everybody the same. You're not the same. We all the same people. No, we're not. If that was the case, wouldn't be no problem in the world behind race. When the winter before last, Mr. Flinders Petrie undertook to take photographs and casts of the various races represented upon the walls of the tombs and temples, he could no longer find any direct confirmation of Osborne's statement. At the Ramesseum, the Hittites are painted orange. At Medinet Abu, their skin is of a dark browny yellow. See? These people, that's why they're confederate with each other, because they're not only all quote unquote white people. And it is only in the tomb of Rekmara that we can still see that their eyes were brown while their hair was black. They thus stand in contrast to the people of Keft or Phoenicia, whose eyes are black and that their hair light brown. A still greater contrast is presented by the chief of Kadesh on the Orontes, the southern capital of the Hittite tribes. His skin is white, while his eyes and his hair are alike of a light red-brown, and he therefore belongs specifically to what is known as the white race. Now, Kadesh, though occupied by the Hittites, is described as being in the land of Amur, or Amorites, since his chief, according to the orders of Rekmara, was not distinguished by the ethnic particularities of the Hittites. We must consider him to have sprung from the older Amorite population of the land. Apart from the color of their skin and hair, the features of these Amorites are well known to us from Egyptian representations. The Amorite was dolichocephalic. His nose was large and prominent, and his chin ended in a short, pointed beard. If we added to this the blue eyes described by Osborne, we have a figure which reminds us of the Cabals of Northern Africa. Remember, they have some people where they're called Afrikaans. They're very racist against the darker skinned Africans. These Cabals offer a striking appearance to the traveler who sees them for the first time. Their clear white skins covered with freckles, their blue eyes and light hair, their tall and shapely stature make him believe himself once more in some English or Irish village. We need not wonder that at one time they were regarded as descendants of the Vandal conquerors of the Roman province in Africa. So that lets you know they Japheth, according to the Table of Nations found in Genesis chapter 10, verse 1 through 5, Isles of the Gentiles. But however satisfactory this explanation seemed at first sight to be, it was soon found to be unattainable. The skin and skeleton of the modern Kaaba resemble those of the prehistoric inhabitants of the country who remains are buried in the cromlechs of the later Stone or earlier Bronze Ages. Moreover, the Egyptian monuments have revealed to us the fact that the Lebu, or the Libyans, who fought against the pharaohs centuries before the Vandal invasion, were a white-skinned, fair-haired population. It is therefore evident that the Cabals are descendants of the early inhabitants of the northern Africa. See, man, all the information is pointing up they came from Africa. They're trying to get you to go back to Africa, and you ain't never been there, Americans. Because they want to keep your land that the Most High promised to you and me for your consideration. And that their physical characteristics are done due to the importation of foreign elements from the north of Europe, but are the inheritance they have received from their remote forefathers. As far back as our monumental evidence extends, the northern coast of Africa was peopled by a portion of the white race. Ain't that something? The traveler in Palestine meets with the same indications of the presence of a white race as does the traveler in North Africa. See? Why is that? It matches perfectly with the Book of Mormon. The seal portion. It tells you that when Adam and his descendants left America, they were the indigenous people wherever they found themselves. And the Canaanites, which is Cain, who eventually turned pale, was sent to Africa, the East, along with Benelli. The first time I visited the country, I was struck by the fact that the blue-eyed, fair-haired children are to be found alike in the plains and in the mountains. That's what Mount Seir is called, the Mount Seir, in the mountains. In the crowded cities and in the most remote villages. At the time, I ascribed their physical characteristics to be influence of the Crusades, and imagined them to be the descendants of the immigrants from Europe. It says volume 8. It was but repeating another from the explanation which saw in the Cabals the children of the Vandals. Last winter, I made a journey overland from Jerusalem to Egypt by the ancient way of the Philistines, between Gaza and El Arish, the frontier town of Egypt. It was impossible not to notice the numerous examples of fair complexioned, red-haired men with whom I met. More particularly, I had an opportunity of examining the present Sheikh of El Arish. Like myself, he was on his way to Egypt. And for 2 successive nights, he joined our camel drivers as they sat around their campfire. Time after time, I watched the profile of his face. And time after time, I thought that the Amorite chief depicted by an Egyptian artist of Ramses III on the walls of Medinet Abu had once more awakened to life. The slightly retreating forehead, the peculiar nose, the pointed beard at the end of the chin were all there in the living sheik of El Arash, as they were in the Egyptian portrait of the chief of the Amorites. The sheik might have been the model whom the Egyptian artist portrayed. The characteristics of race, when once fixed, are extraordinarily permanent. And it is no more surprising to find the features of the ancient Amorites still surviving in the population of modern Palestine than it is to find that 6,000 years have made no perceptible difference between the Egyptian fella of today and the famous wooden statue of one of his forefathers, which adorns the Balak Museum. If there is still a white race in Palestine, it is because there was a white race there before the days of the Exodus. The United Testimony of the Old Testament, and where they had the quote-unquote white race during the time of Christ. That's who it was who was persecuting, that they called Israelis. We found that out in the book, in the Third Testament. The United Testimony of the Old Testament and it said for copies of 2 portraits of him, the excellent work of Mr. Tompkins, The Times of Abraham, place value, or PL, because I can't think of what that is right now, PL period, VI period, should be consulted. I ought to add that Mr. Flinders Petrie's cast of photographs shown that as late as the time of Shishak and Rehoboam, the dominant ethnic type of the cities of Judah seems to have still been Amorite. Egyptian monuments show that this race was known by the name of Amorite, and like the Kabbals of Africa, inhabited the mountain regions. Numbers 13 and 29. Deuteronomy 1 and 20. It says I, but it looks like it should be 1 and 20. Or Deuteronomy, can't really, I'm just going to read what it says. Deuteronomy I, period, 20. It was the aboriginal race which had been destroyed before the Israelites, though their height was like the height of the cedar. Amos 2 and 9. In the neighborhood of the old sacred city of Hebron, they were known as the sons of Anak. Deuteronomy 1 and 27 and 28. So Joshua, this is Roman numeral. I'm trying to remember how to read that stuff. 11, 21, and 22, compared with 10, 5, and 30 and 38. In Moab, they were called the Eman, Deuteronomy 2 and 10, and in Edom, the Horites, Deuteronomy 2 and 12. See, these are all the people that the Most High was talking about prophesy again. The later inhabitants of the country remembered them on account of their height and size, the distinguishing characteristic of the white Dialacho Cephalic race. And down to the time of David, the gigantic descendants of the Anakim were still pointed out in the cities of the Philistines. Joshua 11 to 22, 2 Samuel 21, 16 through 22. The iron couch of Sarcophagus of Og, the Amorite king Bazan, was preserved at Rebath. Afterwards, the capital of Ammon where its size excited the wonder of subsequent generations. And to quite be honest with you, I'm just saying I ain't been in a lot of places, but the Europeans I've seen, this thing on average, they way taller than quote unquote black people. I'm talking when you come out tall, you usually come out them. Where its size excited the wonder of the subsequent generations. Deuteronomy 3, verse 3. And the word Rephaim, by which the Amorites came to be known, it's remind me of that star too. With that star that you call the Star of David, but that's the god Rephaim. And the word Rephaim, by which the Amorites came to be known, became synonymous with giants. Not only had the Amorites held possession of the mountains before their expulsion by the Israelites, Moabites, Edomites, Ammonites, they had also been distinguished by their great stature, so that the Semitic tribes by the side of them seemed to be but grasshoppers. Remember I said, remember that word grasshopper. Joshua and Caleb didn't think, they thought they can take the land, but the rest of the Israelites who were with them, despite the land, say, man, they're like grasshoppers to us. Numbers 13 and 33. And he said the Semitic tribes, these people are not Semitic. He said, so that the Semitic tribes by the side of them seem to be but grasshoppers. So the Semitic tribes are shorter people. We can trace a continuous line of Amorite settlements almost from the Egyptian frontier as far as the north of Damascus. When Chedorlaomer and his allies had smitten the Amalekites, or Bedouin tribes, in the neighborhood of Kadesh Barnea, which Dr. Trumbull had succeeded in fixing in the block of mountains to the southeast of El Arish. Notice at the bottom it says Dr. Nebor has shown that the Rephaim originally signified the shades of the dead, and only later became equivalent to our term prehistoric people. Originally, they were called the shades of the dead. The books of remembrance called them the Decadachi, and they're called the living dead. And only later became equivalent to our term later became. Just like everything they do is later became. Just like the term American. Later applied to the Europeans who are born in America. See, everything they do, they try to take over and become that later. The Assyrian Rapu, weak, also means the shades of the dead. Kadesh Barnea, 1884. They fell upon the Amorites in Hazon Tamar, or in Gedi, Genesis 16 and 7, and 2 Chronicles 20 and 2. The desert sanctuary of Kadesh Barnea itself was in the mountain of the Amorites. Deuteronomy 1, 19 and 20. Whose territory stretched away northward to Hebron and Jerusalem. Ezekiel tells us, Ezekiel 16, 3 and 45, that the mother of Jerusalem was a Hittite, and his father an Amorite. And we might press the statement of Numbers 13 and 29, it would seem that the Amorites shared with the Hittites and the Jebusites the whole of the mountainous districts which ran through the center of Palestine, from the wilderness of Zin unto Rehob, as men come to Hamath. At all events, the Amorites successfully resisted the house of Joseph in Mount Hears, in Elon, and in Shalbin, Jude, or Judges 1:34-36. And Shechem is declared by Jacob, Genesis XLVIII, verse 22, to have been taken out of the hand of the Amorite, while the Egyptian monuments expressly state that Kadesh on the Orontes between Damascus and Hamath was in the land of Amur, but it was on the eastern side of the Jordan that the Amorites maintained themselves in their fullest strength. Here were the kingdoms of Shahan, of Heshbon, and Og of Bashan, which extended from the Dead Sea to the boundaries of Damascus, included the later kingdom of Ammon, as well as the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh. We may say, in fact, that the Amorites formed the dominant population of the mountain region on both sides of the Jordan, from the borders of Egypt as far as entering Hamath. That they extended still farther northward is indicated by the Egyptian inscription. Throughout this region, and more especially on the eastern side of the Jordan, where the Amorites seem to have been especially strong, cromlechs have been found closely resembling those of northern Africa. These latter form part of the series which extends through Spain and France, and to the British Isles as far north as the Orkneys. They are marked by certain peculiar characteristics which have led archaeologists to believe that they are the creation of a particular race. The skulls and objects discovered in them have led to the further belief that this race was long-headed, while white race still so largely represented in Europe. The skulls and objects discovered in them have led to the further belief that this race was the long-headed white race still so largely represented in Europe, called white people, using terms. Against this belief, the existence of the cromlechs of Palestine and Moab have been invoked, but invoked as we know them. Blah blah blah. Salakia. Let me slow down. Against this belief, the existence of the cromlechs of Palestine and Moab has been invoked, but invoked as we now see erroneously. In Palestine and on the eastern side of the Jordan, as well as in North Africa and Western Europe, the cromlechs were accompanied by a tall white race. I believe that allusions is actually made to the whiteness of the skin which characterized this race in the records of the Old Testament. We are told in Deuteronomy 2:12 that the Edomites, or the red man, had been preceded in their occupation of the mountains of Seir by the prehistoric Horites. It is customary to derive, see, that's why they made the different types of red. And I was talking about it the other day on a video. The Washington Redskins were just including the quote-unquote Israelites, the ruddy color, they look like another shade of brown. But these people here, they have a pinkish red. are a bright color red. That's why they always accustom everything the dragon to red, the red dragon. Just the color that. Everything is the color of that red dragon for your consideration. It is customary to derive the name of the letter from core or a whole and explain it as meaning troglodytes. But when we remember that Caleb was the son of Hur, 1 Chronicle 2:50, and that Asher, the man of Kor, was the brother of Caleb, according to 1 Chronicle 2:24, it is obvious that we must look for another etymology of the word. See, that's what they do, change words and make them mean different things so they can confuse you. They modernize the words to make it fit them. The district peopled by the descendants of Caleb was in the territory of the Amorites, where no trace of cave dwellers can be found. I should therefore explain Korah, the Horites, as derived like Kori, white bread, from a root signifying whiteness, and see in the contrast between the Horite and the Edomite. There's a contrast between the Horite and the Edomite. The contrast between the earlier white race and the red-skinned Semites who succeeded them. See? Cromlechs of somewhat similar construction have recently been found in the Teherkis country. This is the more remarkable since no cromlechs at all, broadly speaking, be said to exist in Europe east of a line drawn through Dresden. The prehistoric Eman of Moab and the Zamzumin of Ammon, Deuteronomy 2:11 and 20, are compared with the Anakim of Avim, who were destroyed by the Philistines of Captor. These Avim, or rather Avim, are stated to have been Anakim in Joshua 11 and 20. And the word simply means, and then you also got to always do your research, because he just told you that these nations that the Most High said don't marry into, these were the white, tall races. But always in the writing, you always got to be cautious, because they will change some stuff on you. So you got to be careful. That's why you got to always use precepts with everything. And the word simply means the people of the Eam, are ruined heaps, of which there was so many of in the country. Sometimes these ruined heaps represented one of the cities overthrown by the children of Israel, like Ai near Bethel. Sometimes they were merely denoted the cromlechs in which the elder population had buried its dead. All that we can learn from the name is that prehistoric ruins existed not only in the mountains of the interior, but also in the rich lowlands of the Philistine coast. It said in the books of Remembrance tells us that the reason Dan is not included in the 144,000 is because he became part of the Philistines. It will have been noticed that the Amorites are associated with the Hittites, both as occupying the mountains and as helping to found Jerusalem. Hebron, moreover, was not only an Amorite sanctuary, it was also a Hittite. And the three Amorite confederates of Abraham, Mamre, Eshcol, and Anak, are not only parallel to the three sons of Anak, Ammon and Shashai and Talmai, but are apparently included among the children of Heth, from whom Abraham purchased the cave of Machpelah, which was before Mamre. It says compare Genesis 13 and 18, 16 and 13, and 23 and 17 and 20. To use a subjective expression to Mr. Tompkins, the Amorites and the Hittites are constantly interlocked together. This is not only the case according to the Old Testament in the south of Palestine. The Egyptian monuments showed that it was, that's why the Most High constantly told us in 3 different verses in the Doctrines and Covenants, the Book of Mormon, the sealed portion, and the Bible. In Isaiah, he said, Jacob should not now be waxed, his skin should not now wax pale. The Most High was telling you, he's not going to ever be these people. This is not only the case, according to the Old Testament, it is in the south of Palestine, the Egyptian monuments showed that it was also the case in the north, Kadesh. But noted on the bottom of that, it said whether we adopt the document hypothesis of the composition of Genesis or not does not matter for the purpose of the argument. The writer, at any rate, to whom we owe the book of Genesis in its present form, saw no incompatibility of making Hebron at once Hittite or Amorite. Sheshai and Talmai, they may be observed or shown by their terminations to be tribal names, and Sheshai seems to represent the Shashu or nomad Semites of Canaan, who, according to Seti, the first lived a little to the south of Hebron. Kadesh of the Hittites was in the land of the Amorite, and among the Hittite cities in the direction of Carchemish, we find Amoriski, Marcanas, and Marmar. Several years ago, I suggested that the strange title of the Gar Ameris, given by the Assyrian kings to the district of Damascus, was of Hittite origin and meant the contrary of the Amorites. At all events, the second part of the title is expressed by the cuneiform character which denoted an ass, Assyrian Amuru, reminding us that the name of the Amorite out of the hand of Israel, reminding us that the name of the Amorite out of whose hands Israel took Shechem. Genesis XLVIII, verse 22, has in the account of Genesis been contemptuously changed into Hamar, an ass. However, this may be Hebron is associated in Numbers 13, verse 22 with Zoan, the capital of Hyksos, conquerors of Egypt. Remember, there was a time that the Pharaoh no longer remembered Joseph. That's because at this time they became white, quote unquote terms. This for your consideration. Study to show yourself approved, which is stated to have been built by them 7 years later than Hebron. It is curious that Manetho, the Egyptian historian, declared that Jerusalem had been founded by these same Hyksos after their expulsion from Egypt. And it is possible that Marietta may have been right in thinking that some at least of the Hyksos leaders belonged to the Hittite race. Anthropologists at all events have discovered a resemblance between the Hittite faces represented on their own and the Egyptian monuments and the strange and impressive features of the Hyksos sphinxes of sand. It may be therefore that the Hyksos invasion of Egypt was occasioned by the southern movement of the Hittite tribes from the Taurus, who not only furnished leaders to the Moab Semitic tribes of the frontier of Egypt, but also led in their train bands of Amorite mountaineers. They would have given solidity and permanence to the invasion. Noted, we may compare the name of the Hittite king Morisir, where the analogy of the names Kedasir, Hittite-Sir, and Kilipsir, and Eliposir goes to show that Maror denotes a locality. Dr. Nabor suggested in the Tabernacle of the Moreh, Genesis 12:6, and the land of Moriah, Genesis 22:2. We have the name of the Amorite in the abbreviated form. See, it has all kind of nations in the Bible. We're just trying to tell you they're not the Israelites, though. The Most High, the Bible is written to the Israelites. All the other Book of Mormon and sealed portion is written to the Israelites. And we should have an explanation not only of the interlocking of the Hittite and Amorite, reminding us of the similar interlocking of the black and the red Celts, but also the presence of the Hittites in southern Judah. See, the black, he said the black and the red Celts. That's why I said the original Aboriginals were, in Europe, they were called Celts or Celts. But then this is also of the presence of the Hittites, the quote white people, in southern Judah. There would be no longer any need of suppressing or supposing that the Hittites of Genesis are due to the misconceptions of late tradition. They would represent a fragment left behind by the first movement of the northern tribes, which resulted in the Hyksos conquest of Egypt. A relic of Amorite literature has been preserved in the book of Numbers, just as Isaiah borrowed a prophecy pronounced upon Moab long before and adopted it to the circumstances of his own time. So an old Amorite song of triumph over the Moabites was taken by the Israelites and applied to their own victories over the Amorite themselves. See, you got to also remember, man, the Most High is involved in all of this. So when people start saying stuff like adding to it according to their own thinking, then that ain't the Most High. Heshbon, we are told, Numbers 16, well, no, that's not 21 and 26, was the city of Sihon, the king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king of Moab and taken all of his land out of his hand, even unto Ornan. Wherefore the poets say, come unto Heshbon. The city of Sihon is built and established. Yeah, a fire is going out of Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon. It is consumed Ar of Moab, and the Yahushai of the high places. Well, not the Yahushai. I'm going to say the lords of the Salaki, the lords of the high places of Ornan. Woe to you, Moab! You are undone, O people of Kimash. His sons that escaped the battle and his daughters have been given in captivity to the Amorite king of Sihon. And we have shot at them. Heshbon is perished even unto Dibon, and we have laid them waste even unto Nophah. It is evident that this song could not in the first instance have been composed to the commemorate of the conquest of Heshbon and the Amorites by the Israelites. But on the contrary, it must primarily have referred to the Amorite conquest of Moab. The numerous quotations from it in the Old Testament go to show that it was handed down to the Hebrew writers in a literary form. Balaam seems to allude to it in Numbers. 26 or 24, Numbers 24, 17 and 19, and Amos in the second chapter, verse 2 of his prophecies, while Jeremiah modifies some of its verses, XLVIII 45 to 46, so as to make them suit the events which were shortly about to take place. See, you can tell these people are not of faith who wrote this. They're not Israelites either, because they're trying to make it seem like the Most High didn't really have no plan in this, and it is by circumstance they just putting stuff. Israelites are just putting stuff together. It will thus be seen that the Old Testament and the Egyptian monuments, like bear witness to the existence of tribes known as Amorites, who inhabited the mountain regions from the extreme south of Palestine to the neighbors of Hamath, and were closely associated there with the yellow-skinned Hittites. That these tribes are depicted by the Egyptian artists with the white skins, blue eyes, and blonde hair, while the Bible dwells upon their size and stature. See? These people were not, quote unquote, Negroes. They were what you would consider Europeans. That's why most houses don't marry them. And finally, that the districts they have occupied are strictly strewn with criminals similar to those of Northern Africa and Western Europe. Let's see who comes from North. Let me read that. It says Northern Africa. Well, it says the Afrikaners, these are also Europeans, are South African ethnic group descended from predominantly Dutch settlers, first arriving at the Cape of Good Hope in 1652. Well, gotta do your research, because see if that be true or not. Okay, let's continue. The Cromlechs of Northern Africa were the burial places of the tall, fair-complexioned Deleco-cephalic race, usually termed Cabal by the French, and it is reasonable to suppose that the Amorite of Palestine or the Amorites of Palestine belong psychologically to the same stock. So that's who's over there in Palestine right now. Descendants of the white race of Palestine may still be met with their quite as much as the mountains of the Africa coast. And a reference to their white skin is probably to be found in the biblical name of the Horite. It is even possible that the legend reported by Procopius, which transformed the Moors into Canaanites. So we see the Moors are Canaanites. Mosiah said, don't marry them. That's why all of them are cahoots together to try to take the land that the Mosiah promised the Israelites. It is even possible that the legend reported by Procopius, which transformed the Moors into Canaanites who had fled from the robber Joshua, was based upon the resemblance they bore to the portion of the aboriginal population of Palestine. What relation is borne by the white dolichocephalic race of Africa to the white dolichocephalic race of Northern Europe is still unknown. It's known. When they get talking about this unknown, they lie. That's why we got the sealed portion. All we can affirm is that that's why more in the book of One World Totarians tells us that the term Moor, spelled there M-O-O-R, is synonymous with African. It's known. That's why you got to put all the knowledge together based on precepts, which transformed the Moors into Canaanites. All we can affirm is that the same race of cromlech builders once extended from the British Isles through Western France and Spain into Africa, and from thence along its northern shores into Palestine and Syria. See, they're telling you shit. They telling you everybody that's the modern race is all in. A.H. Seiss. That's who this is about. It is possible that Osborne derived his description of the physical characteristics. That's where he left off at. Isaiah 62, 6 and 7. I have set watchmen upon on your walls, O Jerusalem. We shall never hold their peace day nor night. That's why I can't hold my peace. When I hear something that don't sound scriptural, it just comes out. It's like a fire in my bones. I can't keep it. Gotta say something. You that make mention of the law, keep not silence, and give no rest till he establish, until he make Jerusalem a praise in the earth. For he shall not now, Jacob shall not now, skin shall not now, nor ever shall be pale. Look through the term pale face in the Etymology Online Dictionary. It shall never be European. Shall never be white man, quote unquote. Watch, the verb, it's Etymology Online Dictionary. Old English, wakan, keep watch, be awake. From Proto-Germanic, See, he's holding me responsible to do my part, to send out the alarm to Israel. Stay awake. Be careful. There's a lot of deceivers around. And I got to bring you the truth. It's not only my job, but others too. I'm just doing my part. To be strong, be lively. Essentially, the same word as Old English waken, be or remain awake. That's why he woke us up. Be vigilant. That is to guard someone or someplace. Stand guard. To observe, keep under observation. The action, the noun of watch. A watching, state of being or remaining awake, wakefulness. Also act or practice of refraining from sleep for devotional or penitential, what is that word? Penitential purposes. Keep watch, be awake. To be strong, be lively. From 12th century 1200 as one of the periods into which the night is divided. In reference to ancient times, translating Latin, Vigilia, Greek, Philate, Hebrew, Ashmora. From mid-13th century as a shift of guard duty, an assignment of municipal watchmen. Late 13th century as a person or a group obligated to patrol a town, especially at night, to keep order, etc. It is quite ironic the Most High told me to do it right now at nighttime, because I was going to do it in the morning. He said, "No, do this right now." Now, back to the Book of Mormons, Deuteronomy chapter 7. Israel is to destroy the 7 nations of Canaan. Marriages with them are forbidden lest apostasy result. Israel has a mission as a holy and chosen people. Some people try to tell you that they don't want to be holy, they don't want to be chosen. I heard that somebody say that. Well, you're not. The Most High said we're holy and a chosen people. Yahweh Shai shows mercy unto those who love him and keep his commandments. He promises to revoke or to remove sickness from the children of Israel if they obey this. So that if you marry to one of those nations, that's probably why you were sick. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. When the Lord your God shall bring you into the land which thou goest to possess it, and has cast out many nations before you, the Hittites, the Jerishites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, even nations greater and mightier than you. Leviticus 20 and 23. And you shall not walk in the manners of the nation, which I cast out before you. See, this is where all the Christmas and all these wicked things, witchcraft and sorcery, this is where all this stuff come from them. Worshiping other gods and all this kind of stuff. And you should not walk in the manner of the nation, which I cast out before you, for they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. I hated them. Jacob I've loved, Esau I hated. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 2. And when the Lord your God shall deliver them before you, you shall smite them and utterly destroy them. Now I'm clicking on the part they don't want to let the scriptures come up where he says you should utterly destroy it. He's discovered who you are now. We already discovered through the book of who is Esau, Edom, and all that thing. But I'm just trying to say, why are you, if you so proud of who you are and all these type of things, why are you always trying to hide information and make it difficult to get the information? All right, I just opened up another window to get to the information. And when the law your God shall deliver them before you, you shall smite them and utterly destroy them. Destroy. Deuteronomy 2:34. And we took all his cities at that time and utterly destroyed the men and the women and the little ones. Of every city, we left none to remain. This was the Most High going to cause to happen. He already told you he's going to destroy all the nation, except for the remnant who's going to be your maidens and handmaidens. Joshua 6:21. And they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, and young and old, and ox, and sheep, and ass, with the edge of the sword. Joshua 9:24. And they answered Joshua and said, because it was certainly told your servant, how that Yahweh your God commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land from before you. Therefore, we were sore afraid of our lives because of you and have done this thing. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 2, continue. You shall make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Alma 5:57. And now I say unto you, all you that are desirous to follow the voice of the good shepherd, come you out from the wicked. We already know who that is. The border of wickedness, Mount Seir. And be you separate. That's what they mean by being holy and separate. And touch not their unclean things. They women. Or none of the stuff they do. Worshiping of their false idols and all those things. And behold, their names shall be blotted out, that the names of the wicked shall not be numbered among the names of the righteous, that the word of the highest may be fulfilled, which said, the names of the wicked shall not be mingled with the names of my people. So how can you marry one of these people when you're talking about who you saying that the Most High told you to marry them? I'm not against nobody. I'm just teaching the word. I'm a watchman on the wall. I'm just telling you what the Most High said. He not gonna. That wasn't the Most High that told people. If somebody told you to go opposite of this, that wasn't the Most High. That wasn't no angel. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show them any mercy. Exodus 23:31-33. And I will set your bounds from the Red Sea even unto the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert unto the river, for I will deliver the inhabitants of the land unto your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. You shall make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. They shall not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me. And if you serve their gods, it will surely be a snare unto you. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 3. Neither shall you make marriages with them. Marriages, spiritual marriages, meaning going to their courthouses. Even if you marry Israelites in their courthouses, that's still a spiritual marriage between, because they're still going to be your God, because they have authority over you. Nor make temporal marriages with them, marrying them literally. Back to verse 3. Your daughters you shall not give unto his son, nor his daughter shall you take unto your son. That's the word of God. You lying on the Most High if you say somebody told you something different. That wasn't the Most High. And his true angels on high, they're going to come to you telling you nothing different. So Paul told you, said, even if an angel of heaven come and preach you any other gospel, let them be accursed. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 4. For they will turn away your sons from following me, saying that they did Solomon. And that's called the apostasy of Israel. He said, when you do this, this is an apostasy. That they may serve other gods. Deuteronomy 6:13-15. You shall fear Yahweh Shai, your God, and serve him, and shall swear by his name. You shall not go after other gods, of the gods of the people which are round about you. For Yahweh Shai, your God, is a jealous God among you. Lest the anger of Yahweh Shai, your God, be kindled against you, and destroy you from off the face of the earth. Doctrine of Covenants 4:2. Therefore, O you that embark in the service of God, see that you serve him with all your heart, might, mind, and strength, that you may stand blameless before the highest at the last day. See, if you're doing these things, you're not blameless. Repent. So will the anger of the law be kindled against you and destroy you suddenly. The anger of the highest, indignation. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 5. But this shall you deal with them, you shall destroy their altars. Exodus 4:13. But you shall destroy their altars, break their images, and cut down their groves. That's all I've been doing through the word, is breaking down their images. bringing you the true image. Because that's what the Most High put on my heart to do. And cut down their groves. Judges 6:25. And it came to pass that the same night that Yahushua said unto him, take your father's young bullock, even the second bullock of 7 years old, and throw down the altar of Baal that your father has, and cut down the grove that is by it. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For you are an holy people unto the law your God. Meaning, are a nation consecrated to the law our God. Holy. Ezra 9:2. For they have taken their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. See, man, I have a lot of comedy in me. Boy, you got some holy balls, brother. The seed in them, boy. That's some, you letting loose some holy stuff. That's why they hate your balls. For they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. Yeah. The hand of the princes and rulers have been chief in this trespass. The princes and the rulers is guilty. The people that saying they lead Israel, they're guilty of this. Isaiah 63:18. The people of your holiness have possessed it, but a little while. Our adversaries have trodden down your sanctuary. Put their own images in. The law, your God has chosen you. This is called the blessings of Israel, the mission of Israel, because we're chosen to be a special people, peculiar people, a separate in separation from them and from all wickedness, unto himself, above all people. See, some people tell you that you're not above all people. Ain't nobody special. They lying on the Most High once again. Because if you do these things, you're going to be special to him. You're the apple of his eye. The whole earth was made for you. For you are the holy people unto the law your God. The law your God has chosen you to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. And this is in the Book of Mormon. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 7. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you are more in number than any people. For you are the fewest of all people, because they got a whole bunch of nations that come from them. Told you how they came about. The sealed portion in chapter 16, verse 10 or 11. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 8. But because the law loved you, the love of God, love. Deuteronomy 4 and 37. And because he loved your fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them and brought you out in his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt, showing mercy unto thousands of them that love him, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. These are the ones he loves. Psalm 31:23. Oh, love Yahweh Shai, all you his saints, Israelites. For Yahweh Shai preserveth the faithful and plentifully rewarded the proud doer. That's not a good reward that he got coming for Esau. Jeremiah 31:3. Yahweh Shai has appeared of old unto me, saying, yeah, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, with loving kindness have I drawn you. Hosea 11:1. When Israel was a child, then I loved him and called my son out of Egypt, out of slavery. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. He's talking to Israel. John 13:1. Now before the feast of the Passover, when Yahweh Shai knew that his hour was come that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. John 13:35. But by this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you love one another, Israel. John 14:15. If you love me, keep my commandments. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 8. But because the law loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers. Covenants, oaths. Has the law brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Psalm 107:2. Let the redeemed of Yahweh Shai say so, whom he has redeemed from the hand of the enemy. So he already did it. Because he spoke it already. It's just playing out in real time. Or in real time, it's already played out, but it's playing out in temporal time. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 9. Now, therefore, that the Lord your God, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant. First Kings 8:23. And he said, Yahweh Shai, God of Israel, there is no God like you, in heaven above or on the earth beneath, who keepeth covenant and mercy with your servants that walk before you with all their heart. Nehemiah 1:5. And said, I beseech you, O Yahweh Shai, God of heaven, the great and terrible God that keepeth covenant and mercy for them that love him and observe his commandments. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 9. And therefore, now know therefore that Yahweh Shai, the law, your God, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. The mercy of God. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 10. And repaired them that hate him to their face. That's why he said in was Zechariah 35 when he said, because you've hated Jacob with a perpetual hatred, he said, I'm gonna get down and dirty with you. I'm gonna come down to the same envy that you showed. I'm gonna come down to on your level. I'm gonna get with you. Esau, Mount Seir. And repaired them that hate him to their face. Punishment to destroy them. First Nephi chapter 17, 32 and 38. And after they had crossed the river Jordan, he did make them mighty unto the driving out of the children of the land. Yeah, unto the scattering them to destruction. And now, do you suppose that the children of this land, who were in the land of promise, who were driven out by our fathers, see, they was Joshua and them, they was over here in America when they drove them people out. But if you do your research, no people is totally destroyed. When he say he destroyed them, there's always a remnant to keep the story going, except for this time. But he gonna have a remnant of them that's gonna be our servants and handmaids. And now, do you suppose that the children of this land, who were in the land of promise, who were driven out by our fathers, do you suppose that they were righteous? Behold, I say unto you, nay, no. Do you suppose that our fathers would have been more choice than they if they had been righteous? I say unto you, no. Behold, Yahweh Shai esteemeth all flesh in one, all Israelites. He that is righteous is favored of Yahweh Shai. All righteous Israelites. We're all one. He said, be one as me and my Father are one. But behold, this people had rejected every word of Yahweh Shai. See, the Book of Mormon tells you that the Nephites and the Lamanites, all Israelites, they was fighting each other. And they were ripe in iniquity. And the fullness of the wrath of the highest was upon them. And Yahweh Shai did curse the land against them and bless it unto our fathers. Yeah. He did curse it against them unto their destruction. He did bless it unto our fathers unto our obtaining power over it. Behold, Yahweh Shai has created the earth that it should be inhabited by Israelites. And he has created his children that they should possess it. And he raises up a righteous nation and destroyed the nations of the wicked. And he leadeth away the righteous into precious lands. And the wicked he destroyeth. And curses the land unto them for their sakes. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 10. And repaired them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not slack him that hated him. He will repay him to his face. Hate. See, when he said he hates you, he meant it. Jacob I've loved, and Esau I've hated. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 11. You shall therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command you this day to do them. Ordinances. The command means duty. That's your duty to do. It ain't something that you can say, oh, I'll see. No, I said, that's your duty. Do what I told you to do. That's your reasonable service. Deuteronomy chapter 7. That's why when he told me to bring this message forth tonight, I didn't go to sleep and say, oh, I'll do it in the morning, like I was planning on doing it. He said, no, do it right now. So I did it right now. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 11. You shall therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command you as your duty this day to do them. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 12. Wherefore it shall come to pass, if you hearken be obedient in obedience to these judgments, these ordinances. 2 Samuel 22 and 23. For all his judgments were before me, and as for his statutes, I did not depart from them. And keep and do them, that the law of your God shall keep unto you the covenant. He gonna keep his promises to you if you obey him. Jeremiah 11 and 5. That I may perform the oath which I have sworn unto your fathers, to give them a land flowing with milk and honey, as it is this day. Then answered I and said, be it, O Yahweh Shai, and the mercy which he swore unto your fathers, and he will love you. This is how he loves you, if you keep his commandment. The love of God. and bless you and multiply you. They put in their birth control. But he said multiplying means you gonna be fruitful. He will also bless the fruit of your womb. Well, there you go, right there. And the fruit of your land. Hosea 2:8. For she did not know that I gave her corn and wine and oil and multiplied her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal. So what they prepared for Baal, he gave it to us. Your corn, grain, and your wine and your oil, the increase of your kind. The increase of our kind are more Israelites. The flocks of your sheep in the land which he swore unto your fathers to give you. He been having me to prophesy about that. You should be blessed above all people. There you go again. There shall not be male or female barren among you or among your cattle. Barrenness. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 15. And the law will take away from you all sickness. Sickness. And will put no evil diseases of Egypt, which you knoweth upon you, but will lay them upon all them that hate him. Exodus 15:26. And said, if you will diligently hearken unto the voice of Yahushua your God, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon you, which I have brought upon the Egyptians. For I am Yahushua that healeth you. And you shall consume all the people which Yahushua your God shall deliver you. Your eyes shall have no pity upon them. Neither shalt thou serve their gods, for that will be a snare unto you. Deuteronomy chapter 7-16. 2 Kings 17:33-36. They feared Yahushua and served their own gods. After the manner of the nations whom they carried away from thence. Unto this day they do after the former manners. They fear not Yahushua, neither do they after their statutes, or after their ordinances, or after the law and commandments which Yahushua commanded the children of Jacob, whom he named Israel, with whom Yahushua had made a covenant, and charged them, saying, you shall not fear other gods, nor bow yourselves to them, nor serve them, nor sacrifice to them. But Yahushua, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt, bondage, with great power and stretched out arm, him shall you fear, and him shall you worship, and to him shall you do sacrifices. Earlier today, I was riding my bike, and this European witch was driving her car, and the light was still green for me to go, but she pulled it up to the curb and almost hit me and almost made me fall. And I wasn't going back to harm her because that wasn't even in my heart. I was going to have her roll down the window and tell her about herself, say that was wrong what you did. But she, instead of rolling down the window, she turned the corner real fast and went on. And then the lady behind her had a smirk on her face. She didn't roll down the window either. She kept on and went on too. You cursed. Most High gonna kill you because you dared to do that to the servant of the Most High. I didn't say I was gonna kill you. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 17. If you should say in your heart, these nations are more than I, how can I dispossess them? Verse 18. You should not be afraid of them, but you shall well remember that the law your God did unto what the law your God did unto Pharaoh. So let me read it clearly to get you the message. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 18. You should not be afraid of them, but you shall well remember what Yahweh Shai, the law your God, did unto Pharaoh. And so all of Egypt, that's all I didn't even know that was there, but that was on my heart that he's going to kill you. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 18. You should not be afraid of them, but you shall well remember what the law your God did unto Pharaoh and unto all of Egypt. The great temptations which your eyes saw. Test, try, prove. And the signs and the wonders. Deuteronomy 29 and 3. The great temptations which your eyes have seen, the signs and those great miracles. And the mighty hand and the stretched out arm, whereby the law your God brought you out. So shall the law your God do unto all the people of who you are afraid. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 20. Moreover, the law your God will send hornets among them until they that are left, and hide themselves from you, be destroyed. You should not be afraid at them, for the Lord your God is among you, a mighty God and terrible. He's here. Psalm 47 and 2. For Yahweh Shai, Most High, is terrible. He is a great king over all the earth. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 22. It is amen. I feel in my spirit what I told you. I heard an amen behind. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 22. And the law your God will put out those nations before you. Exodus 23, 27 through 30. I will send my fear before you and will destroy all the people to whom you shall come. And I will make all of your enemies turn their backs unto you. And I will send hornets before you, which will drive out the Hivites and the Canaanite and the Hittite from before you. And I will not drive them out from before you in 1 year, lest the land become desolate, and the beasts of the field multiply against you. By little and little will I drive them out from before you, until you shall be increased and inherit the land. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 23. But Yahushua, or the law, your God, shall deliver them unto you. Doctrine and Covenants 98 and 29. And then if you shall come upon you, and then if he shall come upon you, or your children, this is what the same thing he said in the sealed portion, you got to get back. If you want any kind of forgiveness, you got to get back 4 times what you take. And really mean it. And stop your bad faith actions. Doctrine and Covenants 98 and 29. And then if he shall come upon you and all your children, or your children's children, unto the 3rd and 4th generation, I have delivered thine enemy unto your hands. That's the precept to the chapter and sealed portion when he told them they got to repay you back 4 times what they take. Or if he deliver in your hands, you could destroy them before their face. He said, but if you choose not to, that he just charged that to be more righteous towards you. But I already told the Most High, all right, I don't tell him nothing, but when I talked to him, I said, Father, I really ain't into destroying people. Unless you tell me to, but I just rather leave them in your hand. Let you take care of them. But the Lord thy God shall deliver them unto you, and shall destroy them with a mighty destruction until they be destroyed. Throw them into great tumult. Let's see what the word tumult means. Or tumults. Tumult, now from Old French tumult, from Latin tumultus, commotion, bustle, uproar, disorder, disturbance, related to tumir, to be excited, swell, to swell. But the Lord thy God shall deliver them unto you, and shall destroy them with a mighty destruction until they be destroyed. And he shall deliver their kings into your hand, and you shall destroy their name from under heaven. There shall no man be able to stand before you until you have destroyed them. The graven images of their gods shall be burnt, shall you burn with fire. And you shall not desire the silver or the gold that is on them, nor take it unto you, lest you be snared therein. So we're not supposed to go and take it from them. They're going to give it to us. For it is an abomination to Yahushua your God. Neither shalt thou bring an abomination into your house, lest you be cursed, a cursed thing like it. But you shall utterly detest it, and you shall utterly abhor it. For it is a cursed thing. See, you bringing these Europeans and different ones in your house that's not Israelites, particularly even Israelites who are not obedient to the Most High, keeping the law, statutes, commandments. these are the ones, if you're keeping the commandments, you need to find one that's keeping the commandment or willing to. But don't bring the curse thing into your house. Therefore, I was obedient. Did what he told me to do. You take it like you want to take it. I'll just give you the words of the Most High. So, to the next message, I still intend on bringing you Ephraim from the Book of Mormon. If the Most High don't have me do something before then. Until then, all praises to the Most High. All praises to his holy name. The great King, the Almighty. Shalom and shalom and peace to those who deserve it.